again, welcome to today's webinar. Thank you all for joining us. Our webinar today, Unlocking Student Potential, Personalising Learning with ExactPath and Leveraging Your Students' NWEA MAP assessment data to drive academic growth. So good morning, my name is Danny and I am a partnership manager here at Edmentum. Part of this role is being able to share and celebrate the wonderful successes that schools have seen all over the globe. Today, what I'd like to do is start off by discussing a number of common challenges that we hear from several schools that we partnership with. And then following this, we're going to focus on how Edmentum is able to leverage your school's MAP data assessment results. Then we'll spend some time on how we can support teaching and learning within classrooms and within your school using that data. Before moving into sharing and celebrating successes that other schools, educators, and of course students have seen. And then I'll also be sharing any up and coming events that we'll be attending in the future that might be of interest to you. We also have our Q&A option, so do feel free to pop any questions in there and I'll be able to answer these at the end. If for any reason we get to the end and we've run out of time to take those questions, my colleague Lucy, who's on the call, will be able to take a note of where those questions have come from, and we'll be able to follow those up with you directly also. And as I mentioned, we do have that chat feature, so please feel free to say hello and let us know where you're joining us from. So before we begin, a little bit about me. I'm a mum of two, one who is 11 and has recently begun her journey at high school this school year. And then we have Freddie, who's 18 months old. I've previously worked within the early years sector for around 14 years. And during this time, I've gained experience and have understanding of the importance of being able to differentiate instruction to drive towards achieving those really important developmental stages and learning outcomes. And then having worked with Edmentum for around 7 years now, I've been lucky enough to work with or work alongside many educators and members of senior leadership teams across the globe, supporting them in moving towards achieving successful outcomes that are specific to their needs. So what I wanted to do is begin our time together with this image. This image to me shows success. It shows happiness. It shows hard work, achievement, friendship. These students are all celebrating their own successes. However, they're all individuals. They've all got different strengths and different weaknesses, and they've all taken different routes to achieve those successes. All these students in this image required a different level of instruction and personalised learning at some point within their educational journey to ensure that they were also able to reach their potential. Now, personalising learning improves attainment and progress for all learners. Being able to personalise curriculum provides learners with the flexibility needed to spark that interest and to drive their motivation. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into how this can be achieved together. A little bit about who we are and who is Edmentum. So founded in 1960 as a research project, we are the original pioneers in computer-assisted instruction. We pioneered education technology and understand that empowering educators with proven and effective programs leads to successful student outcomes. And at Edmentum, we deliver research-based curriculum assessments through state-aligned programs that are designed to really empower educators and, of course, engage students. We support over 5 million students annually. We're proud to partner with over 8,000 schools globally, all of which are receiving personalised support to boost their programme adoption. So, let's start taking a look at a number of challenges that head teachers have often highlighted to us, especially as we start thinking about personalising learning and unlocking student potential whilst utilising assessment data. So one of these challenges that I want to focus on is being able to improve and measure growth. So having access to that correct student data, being able to identify specific academic needs, ensuring that subject or domain trends are being addressed is all part of being able to improve and measure growth. And of course, supporting educators to have the time to not only then plan for those needs, but also implement that differentiated and personalised learning within their classrooms to support those needs and improving growth, I'm sure we'll all agree, is a very time-consuming task, with often limitations on student data or lack of resources that allow that continued personalised learning to happen within the lessons. Often, as head teachers, it's about being able to satisfy parents. So again, I'm sure all of us here would agree that being able to deliver comprehensive, actionable data to parents that highlight their child's current academic understanding, along with being able to discuss how the school is supporting them achieve their growth, while being able to deliver comparable data throughout the year, is vital. This not only promotes parent engagement, but it also ensures that parents and carers are highlighted to all those individual successes, along with being part of those conversations around the suitable next steps to continue driving that success forward. And then, of course, we have ensuring that every student is improving. We've got health and well-being. So health and well-being, vitally important for all learners, for educators, and for all members of the school team. You know, ensuring that all staff are being fully supported within their classrooms to fulfill their purpose, while supporting the emotional well-being of each learner, guiding them to be able to engage and achieve their full potential at their own pace, within an environment where they're motivated to continue to drive toward achieving their own successes, rather than potentially feeling frustrated at being taught a skill that maybe they're not ready to learn yet. These are all often common challenges that we hear from head teachers, heads of schools. And now, as we think about the different challenges that are often faced by teachers, those that are in the classrooms, one is being able to determine each student's strengths and weaknesses. So many of you will be aware of NWE MAP assessments, and we'll talk about that a little later in a bit more detail. But those of you that are aware will know that that assessment is taken throughout the school year. It'll provide educators, members of the senior leadership team, with an insight into each learner's current academic strengths and weaknesses. However, the challenge here is being able to gather that data. It's often time-consuming. It often heavily relies on data admin teams, members of senior leadership teams, spending the time reviewing those results, then creating plans for intervention groups, and then sharing that information with educators to then deliver the correct level of instruction. Alternatively, we hear that many educators themselves are spending that time to review that data, comparing previous results perhaps to identify the progress that's being made. In addition to this, we also hear that many educators have access to that data, but just simply don't have the time to review it. One of the other common challenges that we hear is having students that are multiple grade levels behind. And when learners in their classroom are several grade levels behind within a certain subject, or just perhaps a specific area of learning, it is challenging for any educator in the classroom to be able to continue teaching their expected on-grade scope and sequence, whilst of course addressing and supporting those lower ability learners without resulting in those students feeling frustrated. And then of course, ensuring that accelerated learners are given those opportunities to further enrich their learning. So as we think about those most commonly faced challenges educators have shared with us and heads of schools, I'm sure that many of you will see that these are often a reflection and related to a lack of time, such as having the time to personalise instruction, keeping up with ongoing student progress, and adjusting instruction based on those needs. Well, Edmentum is committed to providing support for all teachers to maximise the power of time within their classrooms. And today what we're going to do is we're going to look together at how we can help achieve this. So I mentioned previously there about NWA MAP assessments. So NWA MAP assessments generate valuable data, results identifying each student's current learning level. Now, the partnership between NWA MAP and ExactPath allows a clear visibility to this information. By integrating your NWEA MAP assessment results, ExactPath is able to pinpoint each student's current level of understanding, and that's within math, reading, and language arts. and then have this information presented to educators, all members of the senior leadership team, in a clear data visual dashboard. ExactPath then creates a personalised learning path that's targeted to each student's unique needs based on these assessment results. And again, it's tailored specifically to their current academic understanding, providing each student the opportunity to progress at their own pace, only on the skills that they don't already know. Now, leveraging this data with an ExactPath generates real-time actionable reports and data visualizations. So it's allowing that progress that's being made to continually be monitored throughout the school year, and not just at the point of map assessments being taken, well, when they're being taken place. Here we have Mr. Hudson Thurston, who's the middle school principal at Santa Cruz Cooperative School, and he's sharing his experience here and thoughts of the integration of leveraging that map data, saying that one of the main things that really engaged us with ExactPath was how they use map scores. So we don't need to pre-test, we can use our map scores, and it worked really well in terms of utilising our existing map data. So as we continue to think about how we can empower educators with those right tools within classes, unlocking student potential and leveraging that existing map data, ExactPath will automatically populate your class or your whole school or whole grade of students' NWA results by each domain. So the first thing that we do is, rather than just giving you the learners' map scores, we take that RIT score and we identify what grade level that student is on based upon that information. And that's within each domain, again, in math, reading and language arts. And it's shown here. And we can see here with colours, it's identifying if this knowledge is on, above or below their expected grade level. And then we're highlighting exactly what grade level they are demonstrating that knowledge within. Now, not only this, but we're also ensuring that this data is generated for, as I said, school principals, heads of schools, subject leads, grade level leads, all educators, after each map assessment has been completed. So that enables then everybody to be able to identify that academic growth that's being made in between each assessment at a click of a button. Having this data also allows all members of school to really make more sense of that map data. And it's the beginning point within a student's journey and ExactPath. And we'll take a look at that next bit together. So Edmentum's ExactPath has 4 key fundamental areas, all of which drive towards unlocking student potential through personalised learning. So the first area, as we know, is being able to diagnose learners. So we're gathering an understanding of what they know and what they don't know through the integration of map assessment results. This then enables a personalised learning path to be created for each student. And that, again, is providing students with mastery-based curriculum, automatic remediation at their specific skill level. And if students succeed, they're then rewarded with built-in mastery trophies. And if remediation is required, building blocks will be delivered at just the right time to support, to accelerate that back on grade level learning. And then as students move through their learning paths, teachers can quite quickly identify and target the unique learner needs, as ExactPath highlights areas where additional support may be required. And equally, we think about gifted and talented students who might require that further challenge to fully reach their potential and optimize that growth. And then, of course, by providing that actionable data via our dashboards, it allows all members of the school to analyze the growth and the progress that's being made within each learning path, which is powerful when identifying students' current difficulties and the actions needed to be able to support them. The next area, what we're going to spend some time is in the learning path. And again, what I want us all to do is to think about how this area supports with unlocking each student's potential within a personalised learning experience, while of course maximising educators' time. So each learning path is backed by high quality instructional curriculum content, addressing key standards, including speaking and listening standards. Educators can preview content, can view the number of attempts and scores achieved by their students. All of the information, which of course is important to allow that deeper understanding of each individual academic needs, and enables that instruction to then be personalised even further. So the learning paths will focus on one skill at a time. And just to recap, these are reflective of each learner's current understanding and ability from within their NWA MAP assessments that's just been completed. So as we can see here, the learning path begins with a lesson. The lesson is providing an introduction or perhaps a recap of a previous skill that's been taught already, but not necessarily understood by that student. And all the content is age appropriate with 3 different interfaces to reflect the student's current grade. Then students are then given the opportunity to apply their knowledge from what they've learned within the lesson within a practice. And here they're able to answer a series of questions where they receive immediate feedback and of course encouragement. Now, where a student receives 80% or above within this practice area, this is what is viewed as mastery. This is a skill that the student didn't already know and are now showing mastery within. Once the practice has then been completed, each student is then required to complete a progress check. And again, just to recap, this is focusing on that one skill that's specific to that particular student at that current time. The progress check is the determining factor in ExactPath whether your students have mastered that skill and are ready to move on to the next level, or perhaps requires some further intervention support. Now, of course, all of this information that I'm showing you and data is easily accessible for each educator, every school lead to view within ExactPath. It's enabling staff to make those informed, effective decisions within their classrooms to be able to deliver that differentiated instruction and catering for all of those each learner abilities within their classrooms. Now, as we continue to think about and explore the learning path, we'll see here in this example how each learner is being provided with the correct level of remediation, just at that right time, should a skill be missed during the learning path. So this learner here is currently practicing a math skill in their learning path. Having completed the lesson, the practice and the progress check, the skill is now mastered and the student can move forward within their personalised learning path to the next skill that's automatically been lined up for them with an ExactPath. Now, if a student doesn't successfully complete their progress check once, they get a chance to take that whole module again, so the lesson, the practice, and the progress check for a chance of success. Now, should a learner be unsuccessful on a progress check twice, ExactPath will then provide them with immediate remediation support in the form of a building block. Now, building blocks are skills from either the previous grade level or the foundational concept of that skill. Then once this building block has been mastered, the learner will then have the opportunity to retake this original skill. Again, educators are all able to view this information for each one of their learners within ExactPath, within their class, across their grade, to see which students are completing which skills, who's recently mastered a skill, or perhaps who's completing a building block skill. All of this data then enables that differentiated and further personalised learning to really be embedded into each lesson, supporting with those individual needs, whilst of course maximising the teacher's time to allow that to happen. It's important just to add here that all of this is automatically being assigned with an ExactPath. It isn't relying on you as the educator or your team of educators to locate that correct skill and then assign it to the student. This, of course, aligns to our commitment of being able to maximise educators' time in the classrooms. And here is how all members of the school team can keep a track of the progress that's being made within those personalised learning paths. So in addition to this, the success can be identified and of course celebrated with learners and their parents. Here we can see that we've got 2 students that within this class that have recently mastered a new skill. One is units of measure and one is numerical expressions. We can also see that there's 2 students who are currently struggling with their skill. And ExactPath has now provided them with that correct level of remediation in the current skill to reflect this. Again, it's all automatically happening with an ExactPath. It's ensuring that educators do not need to spend that time locating and assigning this curriculum-aligned content. You can be confident in the fact that each learner is receiving that correct level of learning in their personalised learning paths, whilst your team of educators have access to that critical data that's needed to support that differentiated instruction within lessons to further drive that academic growth and unlock each learner's full potential. And then to support with that point even further, whilst being able to plan for differentiated learning, ensuring all needs are being met, ExactPath provides a clear visual of each learner's progress within the learning paths within what we call a knowledge map. So here we can see that the teacher has noticed that Kaja is struggling with her skill of compare 2-digit numbers. The teacher can quickly click into that skill and see exactly how Kaja is doing on her lessons and practice items. They can also assign additional helpful resources to provide more support and, of course, check her achievement within her progress check assessments. Educators will be recommended to access this data dashboard with an ExactPath throughout their week, because as students continue to access and progress within their learning paths, this knowledge map is updating to reflect that progress. It's going to allow educators to quickly determine where more support is needed to promote that student growth, whilst letting other students to keep on learning. Now, as you can see from this visual, we've got a number of students who are currently practicing the same skill at the same time. We've got some students who have recently mastered or missed that skill. What I'm interested to hear is from you today, and again, feel free to use our chat feature. Just take some time and think about how, having this data, you would be able to apply this in your classroom to drive academic growth. Or how would you want your educators to be able to utilize this data to drive that growth in their classrooms? And of course, as we think about those challenges that we highlighted at the beginning of our time together, such as having that time, the time to personalize instruction, the time to keep up with ongoing student progress, adjusting instruction based on student progress, and supporting both struggling and accelerated learners. How do you think that this actionable data will support all of those challenges and be able to maximize that time? Again, feel free to use that chat box and share your thoughts with us and with each other. Okay, I can see some chats coming through, which is great. And again, as we think about those questions, I'd like to discuss here how leveraging your NWA MAP scores within ExactPath can support that differentiated instruction even further. So whilst, of course, unlocking each student's full potential, we know that the knowledge map is giving us that information. We can see that as a visual. However, the grouping tool in ExactPath is designed to inform the creation of various instructional groups within your classrooms, or potentially across the grade, potentially across the subject. So the data that drives this initially is from the NWA map assessments that have been integrated with an ExactPath. Although as soon as learners begin to progress within their learning paths, this will then be reflected within the grouping tool. So it's ongoing data. It's ensuring that the student progress is being accessed, it's current, and it's up to date, allowing all members within that school to keep track of that ongoing progress, and then, of course, adjust their instruction where needed. So here we can see that the teacher is selecting the domain, the skill in terms of what they're planning to teach next. And then they select the auto group button to automatically move those students into groups based on achievement within that skill. And immediately the teacher knows which students to challenge and which students require intervention. Again, thinking about utilizing this information, feel free to share your thoughts, wondering how your staff, how your educators would respond to using this information to drive that differentiation. What impact would this particular grouping tool have on you as an educator within the classroom? And then as we begin to learn more about ExactPath and how that can support with personalizing learning whilst unlocking, each student's full potential, it's important to think about exactly how ExactPath can be embedded within a classroom successfully. So ExactPath is accessible anywhere, any time of the day, on tablets, mobile devices, desktops. Depending on the accessibility within each school, ExactPath can be embedded into a number of blended learning models to support maximising the teacher's time and, again, students' learning. And one way to be able to embed ExactPath within the class can be shown here. So what we can see is several students within this class who continue to progress within that personalised learning path. These are likely to be the students that are currently practicing skills. They're not showing any signs that they require any further support. And again, this can be done on devices in the classroom or during their scheduled time within a computer lab. And then alongside this, we can see there's a small group of learning happening with the class teacher, focusing on skills that ExactPath has highlighted are areas that students are struggling with. And again, this information has been viewed by the class teacher in the knowledge map or within that grouping tool, and has enabled them to be able to create that small group activity to support each learner to progress within their learning, achieving that academic growth. And then another blended learning option here, there's many, but these are just two examples, is being able to embed ExactPath into a station rotation model, such as what we can see here. So again, what we can see is a class of students, and they're working their way around a number of stations that have been set up in the classroom for short times during their lesson. We've got students working on independent learning, project-based learning, partner and independent reading. You can see that there's time there also for online learning. So we're accessing learning paths within ExactPath. Also, whilst that class teacher is then supporting that smaller group of learning, again, being driven by the ExactPath data that's highlighting the students' specific academic needs and ensuring that they are all rotating around these groups at the same grade level, receiving that correct level of instruction that's tailored to their needs. Again, feel free to share your thoughts in terms of if this is a model that you're already using in school, what's working well, what impact is this having on you and your lessons. Now, a couple of things just to mention here is everything that I've walked through today is research backed, and specifically I'd like to draw your attention to Edmentum's ExactPath is WEDA approved. So to be able to further understand how ExactPath meets the industry standards for the educational support of English language learners, Edmentum partnered with the WEDA Consortium to review ExactPath's instructional materials. And the results were very positive. It was identified that there was many components of the English language development standards that were represented in within ExactPath. The reviewer could identify a number of examples throughout that learning path that we're talking about that meets the needs of English language learners across the areas of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And we're just going to spend a few minutes now just looking into that a little bit further. So, as I mentioned, ExactPath is highly effective in supporting English language learners. And during a recent study conducted in Arizona in the US, English language learners were shown to have made similar academic growth to their non-ELL peers. And that was when they were accessing their personalized learning paths in ExactPath. The program offers targeted instruction in essential areas such as grammar, vocabulary, reading, and writing. Students will receive that immediate feedback that we've mentioned, and of course we can track their progress over time, encouraging that continual improvement. Additionally, the program's flexibility allows it to be integrated into both classroom and at home, making it that convenient and effective tool for English language acquisition. ExactPath, here is just one example on how ExactPath content within ExactPath includes vocabulary development through that reading comprehension. We can do that by having multiple genres being represented. We have on-page student tools available, such as the translation and audio support. And as you can see here, multiple languages are available, with Spanish being listed along with many others that you can see there on the screen. So as I mentioned previously, ExactPath is backed by research in regards to content delivery. However, we're also research back with regards to the correlation between the time that students are spending within their learning paths and their academic growth that they're achieving. So a previous study examined the impact of ExactPath usage and was able to determine that on the completion of 8 or more new skills being mastered, this corresponds to that significant growth and achievement being made. Now, based on that research, our implementation guidance recommends that schools who see success in achieving that mastery of 8 skills are typically working on their learning paths for around 40 minutes per subject per week. Now, here at Edmentum, we have a wonderful team of implementation success consultants who provide excellent high quality support to each school that we partner with, who create bespoke implementation plans on how to support achieving this time within that blended learning environment, in or out of the classroom. And of course, we love hearing the successes that each school has achieved through the Edmentum implementation. And we pride ourselves on being able to meet those multiple needs from within each school and how we can support with those. Again, here we have Mr. Hudson, the middle school principal at Santa Cruz Cooperative School, again sharing his experience of implementing ExactPath with his learners, and in particular the success that was seen. So mentioning here, he says, we had our map test in the fall, so at the start of the school year, and then we had our map testing in December. We looked at those grades and the time spent in ExactPath and then the norm growth. The 2 grades who spent the most time in ExactPath grew above what was expected on the norms of growth. So ExactPath is really working, and this is our evidence, which is fantastic to be able to share. And then here we have a statistic provided by a school in Abu Dhabi, where grade 4 students were achieved on average 5% growth in language arts from fall 2021 to the winter of 2022. And ExactPath supported our students in being able to achieve this. So again, a really great success to be able to share with everyone. And as we think about celebrating success, here we can see a number of different ways that schools have celebrated their students' achievements in ExactPath. It can be done by display boards, leadership boards, student trackers. Personally, my favourite is sharing the student ExactPath certificates around the playground or the school for students to be able to find with each other. As I said, part of my role here at Edmentum, I love being able to hear how creative schools are being when it comes to sharing and celebrating successes. I'm fortunate enough to be able to visit schools that we're in partnership with and be able to see these engaging display boards and these successes that are being achieved. So again, feel free to share with us in the chat box how you are currently celebrating and motivating student successes and achievements within your school. So the last few minutes that we've got here together, what I'd like to do is reflect back on those initial challenges that were highlighted by head teachers and teachers, and think about how we've been able to overcome them. So one of these challenges is often being able to improve and measure growth. Okay, so as soon as ExactPath, again, we've mentioned here that ExactPath is proven to work. It's research backed with regard to the correlation between the time that students are spending within their learning paths and then their academic growth. We've heard from a number of schools who have been able to see the correlation between the time that students have spent, excuse me, and the growth that's been achieved. We've explored a number of data visualizations that allows this growth to then be monitored within ExactPath for all members of the staff within the school. And often it was highlighted that head teachers face the challenge of being able to satisfy parents. As a parent myself, and I'm sure from many of your own conversations with parents and carers in your school, we're all aware of the importance of being able to communicate and share the progress and achievements that are being made by their children. being able to hear the areas that their child is focusing on in order to really fulfill and reach their potential is vital with all parent communication. And ExactPath presents that actionable data that's digestible and it's available in real time. So it's reflecting each learner's current ability, not necessarily something that was done at the start of the school year. It's focusing on what's happening now. So it's focusing on where they've begun their ExactPath journey and where they're progressing to. All of this is going to enable those conversations between the educators and parents, school leads and parents, to be able to think about those suitable next steps in order to achieve that successful student outcome. And then, of course, these reports can be part of those parent conference meetings. They're printable, so they can also be shared at home as well. And then as we think about the different challenges that were often faced by teachers during their day within their classrooms, we've been able to identify how leveraging NWEA map assessment data into ExactPath helps support overcoming these. So one of those big challenges was being able to find the time to personalize instruction. And we mentioned a lot about time. So ExactPath learning paths are personalized. They're personalized to each student by providing that one skill at a time based on each learner's current level of understanding, ensuring that each student is receiving the correct level of instruction and practice opportunities at just that right time, allowing the students to then be able to work through these skills at their own pace, whilst of course receiving that automatic remediation support when needed. And that's also addressing how educators are able to support both their struggling and accelerated learners, because by having access to ExactPath's grouping tool, educators are able to very quickly identify these groups of students and allow them to structure and plan their classroom and lessons, ensuring these needs are then being met. We also had one of the challenges here on how do I keep up with ongoing student progress and continually adjusting instruction based on these on students' progress. And again, we know that map assessment results, they highlight each learner's current understanding within that subject domain via a RIT score. We know that information is provided to the school leads and to educators at that point of completion of the assessment. Although the challenge here is having that continual information on student progress throughout the school year, not just at points during the school year, because that will allow then that instruction, the direction of that instruction to be adapted when it's needed. And by leveraging your school's map data within ExactPath, it not only creates that personalized learning path for each learner that, as we know, is unique to their needs, but it's also enabling educators to view this ongoing progression. It's reviewing completed practice content to gather that clearer understanding of each learner's abilities, what they know, what they don't know. And all of this information is clearly accessible within the knowledge map. It gives educators the data that's needed to make those ongoing informed decisions on when best to adjust their instruction to cater for each individual need within the classroom. And as I mentioned, a number of these challenges are often centered around that lack of time, the time that educators and school leads have. And I appreciate your time here today. We can see that ExactPath provides that personalized learning for each learner, that it's reflective of those academic needs. It's automatically delivering actionable data on the progress that's being made. So educators, to both educators and school leads. An ExactPath grouping tool allows educators to create that instructional tailored groups at the click of a button, as I've mentioned. And all of this demonstrates Edmentum's commitment to be able to maximize educators' time and allow that additional differentiation and personalized learning to happen within the classroom and fulfill educators' purpose within their classroom. So we've spent some time today, and again, I do appreciate you joining me today, exploring how leveraging your NWEA map data within ExactPath can support personalizing learning whilst unlocking each student's potential. And we've explored by accessing the actionable data in ExactPath and the impact that can have and how this is reflective of each learner's current level of understanding rather than something that's happened at points during the school year. Now, of course, if you'd like to know more about ExactPath and how it can support you and your team, feel free to reach out to my colleague, Luke, at his email address, luke.james@edmentum.com. Luke will also be attending the Tri-Association conference next week. So if you are in the area, please pop by and say hello. If you'll be attending, Luke's going to be more than happy to help with any questions that you might have, either during the conference if you're attending, or as I said, via email. And whether that's around ExactPath and specifically leveraging your NWE map data. Now, all that's left for me to say is thank you. Thank you for your time today. Again, thank you for joining us, and I wish you all a lovely rest of your day.